all of us are Arjuns, caught in their own flesh, in their blood, in their tears, in their emotions, in their past, and being caught, we forget what our dharma is. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita is immortal. As long as Arjun lives within us, we will continue to need Krishna.
I would begin with two things. One of them is what you had said when you were talking with our friend, that the whole civilization is an exercise in repression, which I agree and support and second. The second thing which struck me during your conversation was who is the uncivilized then? If this is civilization, then who is the uncivilized? Who is it that the civilization disowns and calls it savage or barbarian or whatever?
You see, civilization is a product of man's mind. It is man-made. The uncivilized one runs counter to civilization.
Yes, true.
What is man-made will be countered by something which again is man-made. You know? So there is somebody who is behaving in a very predictable way, arising from a set pattern. It is easy to see that the fellow is conditioned, and that conditioning is man-made. Let's talk of a regular office goer who spends 10 hours in the office and who has a totally routine-based life. We can see that he has been conditioned. It's a pattern. And then we talk of the anarchic ways of a rebel, of an outlaw, right? Surely the way he is behaving is disorderly, but even this disorder is man-made. So when we look at human activity, whether it is orderly or disorderly, both the order and the disorder are artificial. Artificial in the sense of being products of human mind, and hence being products of evolutionary conditioning. Who is the one who is really not civilized is the same question as who is the one who is not man-made. It's a deeply spiritual question. In a sense, we are asking, is there truth? Is there something beyond the touch of man? Because only that can be uncivilized. See, a particular occasion, I said that most cultures think of God as a wise old man, or at least as a wise middle-aged man. Sometimes they think of him as a young man or a young woman, rarely. But I said, God is much more like a very small kid, not yet conditioned by the society. if we have to have a representation for him in the human form, then let us rather represent him as a naked kid. Not young, not middle-aged, not old, very young. On another occasion, I said that if you want to represent God, then represent him almost as a lunatic, as a madman. God's wisdom will not be wisdom by worldly standards. The way truth operates is highly uncivilized, beyond morality, beyond the comprehension of man. So we can only call its ways as madness, craziness. Oh, holy craziness albeit, but yet craziness. So only that is not civilized. Everybody else is civilized.
But at the same time, civilizations throughout, I will not go into the issues of history, etc., because there is something called the past also, which is outside history and much more vaster. But over centuries, civilizations have been seeking enlightenment, wisdom, so on and so forth. These are maybe, I don't know, maybe hallmarks of civilization, one of the hallmarks of civilization or of a civilized man, the seeking enlightenment, seeking wisdom, seeking hereafter, pursuit of this, pursuit of that. On the other hand, I want to strike a very personal note, so forgive me, that I had this occasion to live with very, very primitive communities, spent some part of my life with them, and they still don't know the impact of the wheel. What does a wheel mean? And I find that there is no seeking of anything. There is no seeking of anything. There is no symbols of civilization. I mean, it's just nature, wild nature, which means everything. So here are a people who are relatively much more happier in the finer sense of the term, much more contented, much more, and they do not seem to be seeking anything. They do not seem to be wanting to know much. They are not after wisdom also, but they are a happier lot. On the other hand, we are in search of wisdom, happiness, enlightenment. How would you explain this in your terms? एक तरफ ऐसे लोग जो तलाश में नहीं है और उनके पास वो सब नहीं है जो एक सभ्यता के पास होता है. एक तरफ सभ्यता है जिसके पास बहुत कुछ है लेकिन दौड़ रही है, सदियों से दौड़ रही है.
Civilization means organization. We have organized something. It's an organized chase. And civilization wants its continuation. So the chase must continue. For the chase to continue, the organization must continue. It's like me wanting something and organizing its opposite to chase it.
Yeah.
What I want is freedom from organization. What I want is freedom, and freedom includes freedom from organization. To get freedom from organization, I raise an organization. What do I get ultimately? And continuously and perpetually, what do I get? Just organization. Freedom will elude me. Civilizations want something, you have put it very nicely. And they are chasing. Now, what they are chasing might be something which is made further by the chase itself.
Yeah.
Which is distanced by the chase itself. So civilization stands as an obstacle to its own ends. I want something. And what is the only barrier in me getting it? Me.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, yes.
The people that you are talking of, the beautiful people that you're talking of, neither do they have a chase nor an object to chase. Nor an object to chase. But it will be extremely difficult to explain this to the civilized mind.
Yeah.
It's an horror.
It's a horror.
It's a horror
Yeah, it's a horror.
to bring this to the civilized man, that one can be called wise without even knowing of the wheel.
Yeah.
He'll say the fellow is not even knowledgeable. How can you call him wise? Because wisdom is higher than knowledge and the fellow does not have even knowledge. He does not know about the wheel. He does not even know how to spin yarn. He cannot wear anything. He does not know how to raise crops. He does not know how to write even the first letter.
Yeah.
And you are presenting him to me as a role model? Seriously? So extremely difficult to take this to the civilized man. It's just that, the nature of civilization is that one gets fed up of it.
Yeah.
And when one gets fed up of it,
That's right.
then one rushes to the hills and the jungles. What is all this rush about? If your cities and your buildings and your systems and your organizations and your offices and your industries and all the beautiful parks and roads and venues of entertainment that you've built up, if they are all so wonderful, then why do you rush to the hills? The hills are absolutely uncivilized. They are so animal-like, they are so childlike, they are so tribal-like. Why do you go to the hills? They are not even cemented. Barbarous. Why do you go to the hills? But that's it. Just that, the lure of comfort and the momentum of the long process of conditioning is that one comes back. One comes back to the sanctuary of his four walls. There would hardly be anybody who would not feel a pinch of sadness on returning to the city, having lived on the hills for a while. And if there does exist a man of this kind, I refuse to call him a man.
Yeah.
Everybody feels that resistance, a particular kind of despair on returning. What is this despair? This despair is the same thing as being born. This is the despair of the newborn baby. This is the crying out of the newborn baby. I was so alright, I was so fine in the womb of nature. Why are you bringing me back to the world? Why am I being born? It is like waking up from deep, peaceful sleep to a chaotic world, to a world where your wife or your husband is prepared to have a go at your neck, where you wake up and you find that your boss has already sent a few missed calls to you. You dread to look at your inbox because more work awaits you. There is already a schedule waiting for you, an organized schedule, a civilized schedule. You don't want to wake up. You don't want to return from the hills. You don't want to be born. No kid wants to be born. Let the tribals remain tribals. This effort to civilize them is one of the deepest sins that man can commit.
It's a very effortful civilization.
Very effortful.
Very
beautifully said.
effortful. And not
Beautifully
effortful just in earning livelihood. No, वो नहीं
Yeah,
क्या.
I get it.
It's mindscape is
Yes,
effortful.
yes.
You know? But I also wanted to know from you that for a spiritual life, for a mystical life, and I only hope it is not a scholarly question, because then I'm defeating my own purpose. Is language necessary for spiritual life? I'm saying this because this community, it's a small community of about 13,000 people, over 4,000 square kilometers. Their language is least developed. When I look at their vocabulary, they do not have so many words which are common for us. For example, a thing breaking down. Say, they don't have things, so they have a bow and arrow. So when the arrow goes blunt, there is no word for it. Repair करते हैं, लेकिन word नहीं है उसका. छप्पर झोपड़े का leaks in monsoon, it's replaced, but there's no word for repair of the roof. So that makes me think that, and in my estimate, they are a very, very mystical people, very spiritual people, and yet they do not have a language. They do not have counting also beyond 5. And we have, I don't even know how far accounting goes, honestly. I'm very poor at maths in any case. Secondly, the sheer intimidating quantum of words we have, and yet we are दौड़ में, endless. So is this one hallmark of civilization is developing efficient languages, purposeful languages, giving them too many words, and other things like counting and whatever that maths is. These are supposedly hallmarks of civilization. Arts, development of arts, social organizations, systems. Here is a community which has practically nothing of these, not even clothes. I have personally begun to feel lately, past few years, that language is a big hindrance to a spiritual state and the paraphernalia around it, because उससे मेरे सरोकार बढ़ते हैं संसार के प्रति. इतना injustice हो रहा है, injustice का शब्द ही नहीं है, अन्याय हो रहा है, न्याय शब्द नहीं है, तो इससे मेरे कंसर्न्स बढ़ते हैं और मैं सांसारिकता में फंसता चला जाता हूँ, मालूम भी नहीं पड़ता है. I just wanted you to.
What you have said is pretty much complete in itself. You see, it has been known since centuries, especially in the Orient, in India. We have had people who would not speak for decades altogether. Silence by way of not speaking, not only mental quietude, but just not speaking, has had a very special and prominent place in spiritual practice. There is no doubt that language is a very important instrument of conditioning. There is no doubt. The spiritual man gains first freedom from thought, and there is no thought without language. You cannot think without language. So freedom from thought is freedom from language itself. It is impossible to be thinking without language.
Yeah.
So you're very right about that. Very right about that. We have had a particular discussion a few years back where we said that if you really want to liberate a child, then take him away and do not teach him language. And secondly, do not give him clothes. We have had this discussion. It was a pretty long discussion with a few opposing voices as well. So that thing was there. There is no doubt about it. Why does one need language? What is the role of language? That has to be understood.
Yeah, that's to be examined.
Word, every word is not only a representation of reality. It is in fact not at all a representation of reality. It is a fragmented building up of reality. It builds reality. It does not represent something.
Yes.
You know, when we say this is a wall, it does not really sound intuitive, but if we pay attention to it, then we'll come to it. When we say that this is a wall, we have in some way built up a wall, otherwise the wall was inseparable from the rest of the existence. Do you see this?
Yes.
So by naming something, we separate it from totality. What was the wall? The wall was what the air was, what the tree next to the wall was, what the earth was, that was the wall. Same. But by saying that this is the wall and this is the earth and that is the tree and that is the sky, we have fragmented existence into four. And the more are the number of words, the more is the fragmentation.
The fragmentation and the illusion and disillusionment.
And subsequent disillusionment and suffering.
Yeah.
So there is no doubt about it that by doing this, that we are only creating more suffering for ourselves. The counter argument that is often given is that language is necessary for communication. But what is meant by communication? Why does one man need to really talk to another? What is it about you that I cannot know unless you speak it out in words to me? What is it? And look at the way the rest of the existence lives. The wind knows how to talk to the flower.
I bet to talk.
I mean, does it not know?
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely.
I have a few rabbits who live with me, and they surely know how to talk to each other. I have never seen them, heard them use a word. Or maybe they do at frequencies I cannot hear, I don't know. But they surely do communicate. They are more one than man and woman are. It's a male rabbit and a female rabbit. I've never seen them misunderstand each other.
Actually, you were saying just now, which is believed also otherwise, that language is unfortunately now it's also called a tool of communication. Earlier it was a means of communication. No, look at the way the language is changing. Its flavor is changing. From a means, it's become a tool now, like other so many repairing tools. So it's a tool of communication. Or it's a means of communication. I don't think communication नहीं हो पा रहा है. That is the crisis. The crisis is comprehension नहीं हो पा रहा है. When there is no comprehension happening, what communication can happen then?
But these two are always linked. Decoding is needed only when there is coding in the first place. Now, why do we need to play this game of decoding and coding? When the truth is obvious, why does it need to be firstly coded? Wherever there would be an attempt at communication, there would always be barriers to communication. And then there would always also be the accompanying problem of, as you said, comprehension. There is a more beautiful word that has been classically used, communion.
Yes.
Now, is communion something that happens after communication, in the sense that it is dependent upon communication, it is linearly the next step after communication, or is communion something that is pre-existent to communication? Do you get what I'm trying to say? I speak and you seem to comprehend. You use the word comprehension. I speak and you seem to comprehend. Now, is our communion a result of communication? Or is it so that because we were already in communion, so you are able to comprehend me? That is a very important distinction that needs to be made.
Yes.
Now, if you can comprehend me only if you are already in communion with me, then language is anyway unnecessary. Because the highest goal of communication, which is communion, has already been attained. So why talk anymore? The goods have been delivered. Why keep on placing orders? The prayer has been answered. Why keep on repeating the mantra? On the other hand, if communion is absent and is taken as a goal of communication, then we are saying that in the moment of communication, there is no communion, because communion will come next, after communication. So, in communication, there is yet no communion. How will you comprehend me?
Absolutely true. Yes.
How will you comprehend me?
Yes.
You're getting it? So, what happens is that men keep talking to each other. And so do women, of course.
A little more.
A little more, maybe. Without any comprehension ever taking place. And it's a horrible thing to think of. We might be talking to hundreds of people for hundreds of years, and nobody ever knows what we are trying to say. Nobody knows who is saying what. It's just an internal dialogue taking place. Like madmen. I am talking to you about sociology and you are talking to me about radioactivity. And we both are nodding to each other like two wise men.
Yes.
Yeah. She is talking to me about her new hairstyle and I am talking to her about the new brand of shoes I've got. And we both are looking at each other in loving glances. If language is meant to relate men, is it relating men or is it really distancing them? Therein lies the great value of silence.
Yeah, actually, you hit the right word, I would say. We just now used the word communion, which is such a beautiful word. And then you mentioned the word silence. My experience with the forest, or with the wild forest, not just forests are different. They're man-made constructs. They're industrial products.
Yes.
They're profit-oriented.
Right.
But wilds are untamed nature, which are very few pockets left. So often we understand silence as absence of sound or words. But silence in the wilds, it has sounds. It has the winds running. It has the waters gurgling. There are not many birds in the wilds. Forest mein bahut mila. So there are many sounds of many children playing. They're raising dust and playing and tossing each other. So all these sounds are there. And yet a tribal culture is said to be a culture of silence. Maun Sanskriti hai. So it is to me not just tribal, even my inside is not just absence of something. Silence is a very definite affirmative presence.
Beautifully
Of agreeability, of
Yes.
communion, as you were saying. So how now? Problem is that somebody like me, it takes 60 years to understand that silence is not absence. It's a very affirmative, presence.
People are so very scared of silence because of this miscomprehension. They take silence as the absence of language, thereby the absence of thought, thereby the absence of everything that is man-made and valuable. So silence to them is the silence of graveyard. It is not the silence of the throbbing, pulsating wild.
Yes.
Are you getting it? When you say silence, it means death.
Yeah.
Silence has a deeply negative image about it.
Yeah.
Silence to me is the space, the field in which both the gurgling of the water current takes place and the listening to that gurgling takes place.
Yes.
Both the generation of the sound and the listening to the sound takes place. That is silence.
Yes.
It is the foundation of both speaking and hearing. So that's why it's very apt that the tribal culture be called culture of silence.
Which doesn't mean absence of sounds.
They must be creating lots of sounds.
Yes.
Right. A jungle cannot be a very quiet place. There is so much organic activity going on all the time.
Yes.
So it's silent in the sense that everything is arising from and settling down into the womb of nature. And that womb, from where we all come, that womb is to be called as silence. And the womb is a very fertile place.
Yes, very fertile.
It is a very positive, a very affirmative place. It gives rise to everything.
Yes.
It's just that this figurative womb that I'm referring to is the space to which everything returns as well.
Yes.
It is not only productive, it is also a center of dissolution.
Yes.
Things arise from there and things dissolve there. So if you can have things coming naturally, purely, without being tainted, directly from there, then it is a culture of silence. Even as the two of us talk together, we would be very justified in calling this a silent conversation if what you are saying is arising from the womb and if what I am listening is going back to the womb. Then it is a silent talk. We can talk silently and we can talk for hours. And what did we do? We were actually silent.
Yes.
So silence is that great center from where immensity of sounds can arise and be comprehended. Once comprehended, something gets dissolved.
Yeah. It dissolves, it goes.
It's gone. It's gone.
Mm.
It's like the letter has been read.
Mm. Useless now.
Useless now. Gone. It is really a thing of despair what we have done to our tribal communities and what we are doing. I do not know whether something would be left of them, but mankind would surely be poorer having done what we are trying to do. And it is so very difficult to have a civilized man understand. He has so many arguments. He says, you see, they do not even have vaccination. We want to civilize them so that they can live longer. He says, you see, they are often very violent. They do not have any constitution or any laws. We want to give them a codified piece of law.
Yeah.
And what he seems to be saying, prima facie, appears so very noble and benign.
In one sentence, if I could use your terminology, if in one sentence I could describe, say, a tribal community of that type, and there are all over the world of that type, and that's not the only one. That would be that it is a longing to go back to the womb, but without restlessness, without unease, and the civilization as it has come around, whoever's fault, maybe no fault anybody's, but the way it has come around, it seems to be a bigger and bigger distance from the womb, because wombs are not man-made, and womb, of course, I'm using it in the metaphorical sense. So it's a longing for return to the womb, because that's where that very subtle enlightenment lies, which needs no words, which needs no concepts, and which needs no communication. Just communication.
It's a very difficult thing again for the civilized man to accept that a tribal man without language, without science, without knowledge can be enlightened. We have a definite image of enlightenment. An enlightened man who cannot speak, an enlightened man whose vocabulary consists of maybe just 300 words. You call him enlightened? Seriously? An enlightened man must be magniloquent. When he speaks, great scriptures rain from his mouth. And it hurts us badly to think that it is quite possible that our enlightened masters were actually the ones who had re-attained their tribal nature. It would deeply hurt our civilized ego.
Very true. Very true.
You know, because we create the images of our leaders and spiritual masters in a very civilized context.
Yeah.
They wear all the clothes that we do. They speak the same language as we do. In fact, many a spiritual seeker would quickly say that if this is what enlightenment means, then I do not want anymore to be enlightened.
Absolutely so.
If enlightenment means that I will become like that tribal man, then I'm giving up my pursuit. No more enlightenment for me, please. Bring the menu again. Something else needs to be placed.
It's the wrong order.
I place the wrong order. Maybe I need to become a visionary or an intellectual or a philosopher,
Yes.
but not enlightenment, not my cup of tea. Because they don't have any cups there, first of all.
They have no cups. But I think it's been very nice talking to you. It's the first time I've been hearing you so often, of course, every time I come
Oh, it's
every
been
Sunday.
my pleasure.
But having this one-on-one conversation. But I hope we again,
We surely will.
whenever in future,
Sure.
whenever it's convenient and possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you.